And here we are. As you can see, I've downloaded my tier list, which probably triggered a lot of people, but I don't care. Now I'm gonna discuss my favorite bands. So the first is gonna be Rivers of Nile. They recently released a mind-blowing album on in September called The Work. I really love that album. Although I think Where Owls Know My Name is a better album overall with better songs. So in my opinion, of Nile, Where Owls Know My Name was the best album of the 2010s. Yeah, you heard it right. Rivers of Nile, in my opinion, released the best album, Where Owls Know My Name, in the 2010s, and it's there forever as the best album of that decade. So, of course, Rivers of Nile gonna take the number one spot in the best now, and we're gonna the albums before Where All Owls Know My Name are great as well, but nowhere near as good as Owls and The Work. So, Monarch is good, I would say, a good melodic death metal album, but nowhere near as good as Owls or The Work. And the previous album, the first album, is decent. I would say decent. So they started out decent, but became godlike. Same for Belakar. They started out decent. Their first album, is Venator or something like that. It's okay. It's a really good melodic death metal album. Uh, the second album, Stone's Reach, is also already much better. But here and there some songs that I think could be in the second album could be a bit more interesting. So I think the songs of the first two albums, just like Rivers of Nile, they're great, but nowhere near as good as the third album. I forgot the name. It has like this fairy tale on top of in front of the album cover. Red Hood, I don't know, but anyway, the third album is already much better. And then the fourth album is their magnum opus so far, in my opinion. Vessels is an amazing masterpiece, but as a band overall, I think Rivers of Nile made. Let's do it like this, so you have like this overlap. A much better album with Owls. So if I would compare Vessels to Owls, Owls would win, because Vessels was released in 2016, so that didn't take my number one spot. It was in my top 10. Vessels was definitely in my top 10. But Rivers of Nile definitely still is number one. And then Belakar. Dream Theater is still behind Belakar. Persephone. Same story again. For some reason, these bands always start with a decent, a great album, but become much better later on. Like Persephone, the first one or two albums I enjoy, but they are nowhere near as good as Atma. This is the last album they released. They're gonna release a new album in 2022. I'm really looking forward to that. But Atma, what a mind-blowing spiritual experience. Same with the album before. I can't quite remember what its name was. And the album before was something about Japan. They always have like a theme. So think in Atma the theme was Hinduism. I'm not 100% sure. I should check that, but well, whatever. And the previous album was Buddhism, and the album before that was Taoism. And I think, like these two bands, Belak and Rivers of Nihil, Persephone became much better later on as a band, much more blowing. And if I would compare Vessels with Atma and and the album before that, The Great Something. I don't know. Well, whatever. Can't know everything. I think Persephone will take my third spot. Metallica is still has. Vessel still wins over Atma or the previous album before that. Alright, so now we have Ne Obliviscaris. It's a difficult listen at first. I like difficult albums because, you know, the funny thing is with most of these albums, these bands, I mean, the first time I hear the album, I'm like, I'm not sure if I really like this, but you know, after a while you listen more because you're still intrigued because there's so much going on. They eventually start growing on you, and once you are really into it, they are mind blowing. And Nail with Scars is one of those bands that is also like their last album called Earn or something like that. It was a difficult listen at first. I preferred Portals of Eye the most as album of Neo Obliviscaris, but Earn was also great. The album between Earn and Portals of Eye was a little bit less great in my opinion. So, but still, I love the violin. I love, I think, the clean vocals of Tim. One of the best clean vocals I've ever heard. Tim as a musician is amazing. Same as the Growler. I think he's called Xenoneer or something like that. But you know, the vocals of Tim and the violin is definitely something that is mind blowing in Neo Obliviscaris. So as a band on its own, I would also put Neo Obliviscaris past Persephone. Because I think their third album, or what was it? I think it's the album between Portals of Eye and Earn is a bit less good. So yeah, also give it a listen if you're interested in death metal or technical death metal. These four definitely a listen. Death metal, by the way. Eventually, you'll also have others than. Okay, well, this is kind of like deathcore. But this is atmospheric black metal, so you have also another genre rather than death metal. You know, the thing is with death metal, I actually dislike old school death metal, like Death. What was this? Hammer Smash by Cannibal Corpse. I really find it lackluster. You know, Leprosy, those kind of death metal bands, very boring. But when you add melodic to it, they're amazing. So, Insomnium. Insomnium honestly never really had a disappointing album in my opinion. The latest work is amazing. They are releasing a lot lately during coronavirus times. And their song, the new, I don't know if it's EPs or album, I haven't really checked it, but I usually listen on YouTube. You know, The Messenger, that is, I think, the latest song that they released. Amazing. They stay with their quality. They stay with their Insomnium formula. It really works well. It's really catchy. It's less less difficult than these bands, but still amazing. So I think I will put Insomnium. Fourth place, replacing Neo Obliviscaris. I will put this one there. Now I have to somehow find Insomnium. Okay, let's just put it. Below Persephone, like this. Yeah. So Insomnium, fourth place at this point. But they are all... Okay, let me take this clear. They're all still above Dream Theater. All of them. All right. Are you gonna have any bands that will be below Dream Theater? Yes, actually, yes. There are one or two. Like this one, Infant Annihilator. As a band, they kick ass. They are like the most badass, the most tough bands. Well, it's more like of their gimmick, you know. But as a band themselves, I just listen to them when I need something strong, when I need something nasty, you know. But in the end, it's it's a amazing listen, you know. Uh, but I won't put this one in the best. I will put this one first spot before Gojira in the greats. They have great listenable albums, but not something so mind blowing like Tool, Dream Theater. It's all kind of the same, but still really fun and really good to listen to. Then Lorna Shore. Okay, Lorna Shore is you know what? I'm not always too concerned about the genre. It's amazing metal, but I think it is like deathcore or something like that. Blackened deathcore, you know, kind of. Um, there, this Lorna Shore is the same story with these bands here. Um, the first couple of albums, or the first one or two albums, are okay, are good, but the albums with the lead singer CJ was mind blowing. It kicks like a mule, and I love the troll growls. You know, the things they do with the CJ does with his voice. He got kicked out by the band, replaced by somebody else, and they released an EP called "And I Return to Nothingness." And as I was thinking that nobody can match CJ with its growls, the new lead singer, I forgot his name, actually um, did even better. So their latest EP is so fucking mind blowing. Their songs are so good. Although they don't have too many. It's an EP, so it doesn't have too many songs. It has 3 songs. So I'm really looking forward to it. As of now, I will put this also still before Dream Theater, so better than Dream Theater, but behind Ne Obliviscaris, because but I think Lorna Shore might eventually go up the ranks once they release more songs with the new lead singer, which is even better than CJ. So I was sad when CJ left the band, but then when I heard the new guy, which actually got a bit inspired by Ali from Infinite Annihilator, and he blew my mind even more. So Lorna Shore taking up 6th place of the best. Then Midnight Odyssey. Oh wow, what an amazing experience Midnight Odyssey is. They have 4 albums now, and the first 2 are a journey. They are a definite fucking mind-blowing journey. They are both 2 hours long, and I don't know, they just take you into space, into the cold nothingness of space, and you stay there for the 2-hour trip, and then come back to Earth. The way he makes, I can't remember his name. The way he makes this his music is mind blowing, and unfortunately, his last album he got inspired by old school not old school heavy metal. So you hear a lot of like old school influences of from it. Like I don't know. I listened to it once or twice, and I really didn't like the last album of Midnight Odyssey so much. but they have like he had like an old school heavy metal approach to the black metal. I wouldn't say Slayer or Metallica, but I would is more think about Dio, like Dio, Although I do like some of the Dio songs, they are great. But music like that, combined with black metal. But just because he lately released an album that I really didn't like so much, the first two albums are so fucking amazing that I think I would put this one in fourth spot before Insomnium and after Persephone. Definitely deserves that spot. Even if Insomnium is more consistent, didn't blow my mind so much as Midnight Odyssey on its journey. Saor, it's a Scottish black metal band, atmospheric as well. All of their albums kick ass. They are amazing experience. They are cold. They are harsh. You really feel like you're on the Scottish Highlands. I really have no album or no song that I really dislike of Saor, or how you pronounce that. And as a band itself, compared to the other bands here, because I don't judge the bands based on how many albums or how many songs I like, but how much of the impact the album had or the song had on me. So, for example, Rivers of Nile is still number one because Where All Owls Know My Name had such an amazing impact on me. Best album 2010 that it deserves to be on number one spot so far. So, as a band as a whole, it's a really good band. But it doesn't do as inspiring. It doesn't inspire me as much as Near Obliviscaris. So I will put this on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th spot. Before Lorna Shore, after Near Obliviscaris. Okay, where is it? Okay, let's move that up down so I can have a bit of a almost okay, hold on. Yeah, here, there, bum. All right, next one, Alcest. Okay, we are kind of like halfway through. Alcest is shoegaze black metal. Same with most bands. I actually kind of disliked his first two albums. La Voyage is the first album I really enjoyed of Alcest, and afterwards the albums became better and better, and the latest album, I forgot its name, is still the fucking best of Alcest. So I like Rivers of Nile. The first two albums I like, but I actually kind of dislike the first two albums of Alcest. Once it really becomes black metal, this band, then those albums really blow my mind. And those last three albums actually are so good that I will put Alcest before Ne Obliviscaris, but after Insomnium. So voila, Alcest taking up the 6th spot. And then Sojourner, atmospheric black metal. None of the albums suck. All of the albums are amazing. They are like Midnight Odyssey, a journey, a different journey, more like a Lord of the Rings journey instead of a space journey. So if I think about Lord of the Rings and metal, I think about this band Sojourner. None of the albums suck. All of the albums are amazing. They take you on an amazing journey, and I love their difference between the harsh vocalist and the female vocalist. I love the dynamic between those two, and any album has that dynamic, and I really enjoy Sojourner as a band on its own, as a whole. So Sojourner, I will put after Alcest, but also before Ne Obliviscaris, because they're such a consistent good band, and they have, like I said, they just take me on a Lord of the Rings journey, and that's also my favorite film and book. So, okay, next one, Immortal. Okay, this is another one of those bands that is like Slayer. That after Slayer, I discovered Immortal. I wanted even more something more rough than Slayer. Slayer was still a little bit too calm. I wanted something too rough. Immortal. Honestly, I'm gonna give you an honest answer. I think the second wave of black metal, or the Norwegian black metal, the first kind of albums, in that genre, I kind of don't like anymore. I used to like them a lot, but like Dark Throne, I really don't like any albums of Dark Throne. It's a bit too boring for me. Mayhem had one good album, Death Crush, and the rest also became a snooze fest. Immortal stayed consistent with its album. I liked the input of Abad, but unfortunately Abad left. And actually, Immortal regained some of its earlier influences, but still good. I will put this at the greats number one before Infant Annihilator. And then Burzum. Burzum is one of the only black metal bands like Immortal that started in the 80s and the 90s that have influenced me and that I still like to listen to sometimes. Although I do admit that Burzum did stay its welcome. I don't know. It became a bit less interesting for me. So, still good musician. Like the albums when he was in prison, I don't care so much about. The lore albums after prison is good. I will put Burzum before Rammstein and after Gojira. Dark Tranquillity, like I said, I will come eventually to Dark Tranquillity. Dark Tranquillity, I don't think I need to talk much about anymore because I already explained a lot about it. That how it stayed Dark Tranquillity over the years, not like In Flames. And that's why it deserves a spot after Burzum. So before Rammstein still, but after Burzum. Still making good music, enjoyable music, but like In Flames, it eventually became a bit the same. Earthside. Now, Earthside classifies themselves as cinematic rock, but if you listen to this album, Dreams in Static, I mean, it's quite heavy for rock. It is definitely heavier than, for example, Metallica or even Slayer. I mean, if you listen to the tracks with, like, Crater or the last track, I forgot its name, of the album, that shit's fucking heavy. The last track still gives me goosebumps. Earthside has only released one or maybe two albums, So it's a bit of a newer band. I can remember it just released a new song of its new upcoming album, so I'm really going to listen to that as well. The new album, I'm really looking forward to it. But Earthside as a band, as I only know them of this album that blew my mind so badly. It's also like a difficult listen because at first you're like, all right, all right. But once you really start listening to it, it really blew my mind. But then again, it has only one album. I will put this still before Dream Theater, but after Lorna Shore. So it's better than Dream Theater, but I prefer Lorna Shore a bit more. Alright, so where do I put this? Lorna Shore. Where is it? Okay, there. All the way there. There. But definitely listen to Earthside, Dream Aesthetic. It's amazing. Okay, the final four. Cattle Decapitation. A little bit like Infant Annihilator. An amazing listen to, to if you want the nastiness, if you want to listen to something real nasty, real angry, Cattle Decapitation is a good listen. I will put this at the grades before Immortal, so Cattle Decapitation, number 1 spot at the grades. Agaloch, oh my god, it's such a good band. Folk, post-black metal band. It's also a very difficult listen at first, but once you get into it, the Mantle, it's such an emotional, amazing masterpiece. Such a fucking masterpiece. I would say the Mantle is the best album of the 2000s because that was, I think, released in 2002. And their first album, Pale Folklore, amazing. Their third album, Ashes Against the Grain, a little bit less good as the Mantle of Pale Folklore. I really didn't like the whole Bloodbirds or something secret, the end of the third album of Agaloch, Ashes Against the Grain. And the fourth is much better, I think, much more consistent, a bit more black metal. And the fifth is also great. So Agaloch has a really, really special place in my heart. The emotion, the folklore, the music is so nostalgic yet so powerful. I would say Agaloch takes us second place in the best. Second place. So before Balakar, after Rivers of Nile, Agaloch. However you're supposed to pronounce that. Agaloch. I say Agaloch. Second last, Sky Forest. Sky Forest has, I think, 3 albums at this point. The first album, not so much of a fan of, but then when the second album came with a swan, I'm not 100% sure what it's called. Oh my god, that's also such an emotional masterpiece. This is like post black metal. It's like if you put black metal, if you are if you know about the black metal scene, you know that it's always like grim, dark, frostbitten, but Sky Forest takes a twist and still has this like harshness of black metal, but sings about hope. And for some reason, I think that is much more emotional than most depressive, suicidal black metal bands like, oh, life is so sad, kill yourself, I think this touches my soul much deeper because, it's like life really sucks, but hold on, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's And the latest album is this album. I kind of forgot its name. Ah, yeah, A New Dawn. Oh my! I'm gonna admit, I've cried with some of its songs here on this album. It was so emotional, so beautiful, yet so harsh. Sky Forest will take number 4 spot. So before Persephone, after Belacor, and then the last Harakiri for the Sky. Think it's. I actually kind of forgot its genre. Like, it kind of has both black and death metal sounds in it. This is also a band that has no bad album. All the albums are amazing. They are, I would say, kind of like Insomnium. They stick to their formula and they know how to make good music. And I think by itself, Harakiri for the Sky, with its consistency, with none of all the albums are great. There's not a lot of variety in its albums, but the lead singer, I love how the lead singer growls. They put some melodic stuff in it. I really love any album that Harakiri makes. And as spot, I think I will put Harakiri before Sojourner and after Alcest. So let me just check. There it is. So yeah, there you have it. Rivers of Nile, my most favorite band. The best of the best. Then Agaloch. Then Belacor. Then Sky Forest. Then Persephone. Then Midnight Forest. Then Midnight Odyssey. Insomnium. Alcest. Harakiri for the Sky. And then Sojourner. And then Neobla Viscaris. And then Saor. Lorna Shore. Earthside, and then Dream Theater and Tool as the best, and then you will have Cattle Decapitation number 1 in the grades, Immortal, Infant Annihilator, Gojira, Burzum, and then Dark Tranquility, then Rammstein. So yeah, a bit of a different video that I usually make, but I hope you enjoyed it because I am a huge metal fan. I only listen to metal, and I wanted to share my thoughts on this tier maker list. I hope you enjoyed it as well, and I see you in the next game. Cheers.